unfortunately, the Speaker is not supposed to be aware, but I'm aware that the bill has not been brought to the House. I am aware that there were consultations in the executive by the Office of the Finance CC and the Governor. And the information I have now is that the bill that had already been taken to the government printer for printing was withdrawn on the instructions of the Governor, in that some funds, I believe, that were purportedly meant for his office had been reduced to go to other development agenda in view of the absorption rates. So in essence is that the bill is not in the House for that intervention by the Governor, and therefore I don't expect the member for Jabini Kiburu, unless he advises otherwise, because I'm told he is online, whether that in fact he is seized of that bill, or whether it is true that under the instructions of the Governor, the appropriation law bill was withheld. It is then that we can be able to process. And maybe, I don't know whether the budget chair is ready to comment. The majority leader is here. The majority leader does not obviously serve the Governor, but he is a liaison person between the executive and the assembly. Maybe I would request whether majority leader you have any information of that on that bill, because it is not here, and we are just getting information from confidential sources on the reason why it is not here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sometimes I'm lost for words, and when I assess my conscience, I find that the people who are supposed to serve this county are doing the exact opposite. Mr. Speaker, when I was elected as the leader of majority in this assembly, I promised to bring in a reign of peace without fear or favor. As a result of that, Mr. Speaker, when this budget was passed by this House on the 12th of this month, I made a follow-up, because I also heard from the vineyard that there were overtones of people who were dissatisfied with the decisions that were made by this assembly when passing the said budget. In my effort, I contacted the office of the CC Finance and had the privilege of consulting with one director. I don't know if he's a director or he's a chief officer in the said department. They raised issues and I asked them to put them down in writing. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, they were not put down in writing officially, but I was given footnotes with the points of concern that the executive had, which I forthwith delivered to your office, taking it as a sign of goodwill from the executive so that we can make overtures that would bring in peace and consensus building as far as the business of the budget-making process is concerned. Mr. Speaker, among the pertinent issues that were highlighted and which your office has officially responded to was the issue of the unbalanced budget. I went a step further and decided to interrogate the problems at hand and found out that the executive used pay-as-you-earn money, the money that was supposed to be paid to the government, in form of taxes to the tune of 80 million to settle COVID allowances, and the assembly had already allocated such amount before. The executive did not give an explanation as to how they spent the 80 million that was provided for in the first instance. Mr. Speaker, there was also this other issue of contention about the construction of CDC. And as far as this was concerned, the executive was questioning why money that they had requested to be increased was not allocated or was removed from the supplementary budget. And of course, this house being a house of rules, Mr. Speaker, this house was not furnished with evidence or details to show the conditions that were attached to the grant that was given towards the construction of that CDC. As a result, Mr. Speaker, that money was removed. Mr. Speaker, the third contentious issue was the issue of the stadium. So far, we know from our records that stadium has consumed over 100 million. And Mr. Speaker, there is nothing really to show it to be known because we are coming to the tail end of this parliament. That the hard questions that the people of Githurai are going to ask when it comes to campaign time. And I'm going to answer them with the facts as they are. My service here is to the people of Githurai. And I'm disappointed, Mr. Speaker, that the real amount of money that is allocated towards development of social amenities is removed arbitrarily. I stand here a disappointed man because those people have been deprived of their right. When you look at these other issues, Mr. Speaker, these are pertinent issues, and there are issues that are dealing with facts and figures. I don't see why such straightforward cases cannot be addressed by the executive. I stand corrected. But, Mr. Speaker, there is no political goodwill to implement this budget, given that we have got less than 2 months. And, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to analyze this budget with a fine-tooth comb. And if you give me a chance when we come back to this assembly, I'm going to go through the various votes and dissect them and show the exact amount of money that goes to each office. And we want an explanation as to how that money is spent. Mr. Speaker, I'm the chairman, education. If you look at the budget, education, it is a fragment, it is a fraction of what the office of the governor spends. Mr. Speaker, it defeats logic. It defeats common sense that so much money should go towards an individual's office. And now they want it to be increased while our children are going to classrooms without toilets. While our children are going to classrooms without facilities. The classrooms are even built out of mabati and mud. Mr. Speaker, I think we have lost humanity. And if this is what politics is about, then Sambigi is ready to go home and serve such a system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. I'm told the member for Jabini Kiburu and the chair budget and appropriation committee is on the floor. Proceed, Honorable James K. Washomba. Proceed, member for Jabini Kiburu.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, we can hear you, member for Jabini Kiburu. Proceed, Honorable Kashomba. Honorable Gashoba, the floor is yours. You are muted. Please unmute. Honorable Gashoba, please unmute and speak. He's still muted, eh? Yes, now you're on, yes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, proceed.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, yes, I can hear you right now. Mr. Speaker, I'm also quite astonished because by yesterday, the Chief Officer of Finance had actually communicated to the Budget Office and said that by 2:30 today, they'll be able to bring in the appropriation bill. Mr. Speaker, after some few hours in the morning, the Chief Officer called me and said there were some technical problems at the government printer, trying to argue that there were some items that were removed by the Budget Committee. And Mr. Speaker, you are aware, Mr. Speaker, our mandate is to interrogate as a Budget Committee the government funds and also to monitor. And Mr. Speaker, some of those items that we are talking about, we as the Budget Committee have been requesting for the items for the submission of those projects that were omitted. And Mr. Speaker, we could not even avail the supporting document so we can be able as a Budget Committee to work on the same. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that we don't do assumption as a Budget Committee. We do exact because we are dealing with public resources and funds that are supposed to help our people. So, Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, I want just to reiterate that the county government is absconding the paramount duty that has been bestowed by the people in Nyandarua. They're so sad, Mr. Speaker. At this hour, bearing in mind we have only less than 2 months to the general election. And Mr. Speaker, we are paying bills that are not paid from our contractors and other services that are provided to our people. It is quite sad, Mr. Speaker. It is if you are indulgent as an assembly, you give us a way forward because we cannot keep our county at ransom. It is unfortunate. It's unfair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think then all of the members with that. Okay, sorry. Member for Crown, Honorable Ken Mukera.
So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a very worried person by the action being taken by the current regime led by the governor, who is the CEO of our county, by failing to undertake very serious issues for this county. Mr. Speaker, if you find the budget, the supplementary budget that the legal office wanted to have 45 million, and you look at the absorption rate, being the legal chairman, I'm the legal chairman of that committee, the docket was only able to use 4.5 million in a span of almost 8 million, and yet they wanted to have 45 million in a span of 2 months. By reducing the amount to 9 million, it was possible to work with the 9 million in the docket. By the issue of the docket wanting to have a recurrent budget of 45 million, this tells you about the issue that somebody wants to work with development vote being moved to recurrent in the offices. Don't know why, whether they want to steal. Mr. Speaker, the issue of education, moving a vote head of development to recurrent in an office. It is still an issue that the people of Nyandarua will need to wake up. That a regime that is going home want to take with them monies meant to improve the welfare of the well-being of our people. So, Mr. Speaker, if you find a regime, as said by the chairman of the budget, and Appropriation Committee, Honorable James Kiru Gashomba, that the timelines so far to the end of this regime is only 2 months to the general election. The end of year is only 2 months, in fact a month plus, to the end of the current year, that is 2022-2023, 2021-2022. And yet, just a simple task can still revolve within an office. I don't know whether still the governor is still held up at Jubilee offices. We heard that he's sleeping at the gate waiting for the certificate. Whether that's the reason he does not want to make sure that the activities of this county move on. But we also need to work with what we saw on, that we are going to safeguard, protect, and at least improve the welfare of our people by the Bible. What he did at the field, we also did it at the assembly. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to request your office to give direction, and action should be taken urgently to safeguard the people of this county. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Majority Leader had already given you your time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but I forgot something.
Okay.
I have said that I would like to dissect the recurrent budget vis-a-vis the development budget going backwards for the past 4 years. And Mr. Speaker, I'm going to demonstrate to the people of Nyandarua that we have missed the bus. Mr. Speaker, as we sit here today, my budget has a bias towards boreholes, sinking of boreholes and equipping them. Those people back at home are waiting for them. Those people at home are experiencing the worst drought. Mr. Speaker, my budget has got bursary for kids who have not gone to school. Yet, somebody somewhere decides not to bring the appropriation bill to this House. Mr. Speaker, I think it's the high time, even as this House, that we also stopped the recurrent expenditure for the office of the governor, so that he may also feel the pinch. He can't keep on enjoying with his executive huge perks and huge allowances when our kids are not even going to school, owing to a single document that he's supposed to bring to this assembly. Mr. Speaker, I'll be failing in my duty as the MCA for Gedioro if I don't point out this and express my worst fears. But I know for sure that the people of Gedioro will know that this money is safely tucked in this budget. And when we come back in the next government, I will still follow it up for their water. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, honourable members, it's actually a very sad day for us as a county. I have always thought that this administration, at least at this time, this rate time of the day, that it would repent its sins of 4 years and try to reconcile itself with the people of Nyandarua. But actually it is making a bad situation worse. It is very unfortunate that the bill, I'm aware and I have the information that was lying at the government printer, could be the
recording in progress
at the whimsical motion of the governor, to the detriment of hundreds of thousands of the people of this country. I am aware, again, that members here, and I'm throwing caution to the members of this assembly, are being summoned and being promised that in case they support the review of the budget so that we can create loopholes for theft and misappropriation of public funds, they will be allowed more projects in their wards. And I can assure them that as long as we sit here, there is no other money that we shall allow to go out there without being in a structured way, that as we come back to a new administration, that money can be properly expended, because with whatever is happening, I don't believe that there are any chances anyway for the current and subsisting regime. Honorable members, the issues that are being raised by the executive, they were all responded to, and they are trying to seal loopholes of misappropriation of funds by purporting that they can return the budget year. In any event, is that no memorandum will be accepted in this House on the budget. The law does not anticipate that, and there is no room for that under the law, under the Public Finance Management Act, nor the regulations thereafter. They can only wait for the appropriation law to be passed, and maybe, and I'm not their counsel anyway, is to do a memorandum on the appropriation law, but not on the budget estimates. In any event, under regulation 37(2), is that the CC for Finance should have forwarded the supplementary budget within 14 days of approval by the Assembly to the National Treasury. So if they have not done that, they are already acting in conflict with the law. The section 37(2) of the Public Finance Management Regulations applies mutatis mutandis to the supplementary budget as it applies to the primary budget in a financial year. And therefore, is that the CC, wherever he is studying, and whichever directions he is receiving, so that they are able to get money to do political mobilization, he should be aware that they are already in conflict with the law, and that no memorandum, there is no infrastructure of bringing a memorandum questioning budget estimates. I have consulted widely, I have read the law, and as I've always said, a lawyer of 25 years studying, and also have consulted Parliament. You cannot, and it has never happened. It is only in Nyandarua where things are done out of context in an unorthodox manner that those kind of attempts can even be thought or imagined. And therefore, I am just communicating this to the governor and to the CC, that that would be an exercise in futility, adventurous, and a shot in the darkness. The other issue is that as we start here quarreling, our people are being auctioned because of pending bills. The governor had only intended to pay about 100 million. This House, led by the Able Budget Committee, catered for all the pending bills and increased the payout for pending bills by almost 500 million to 638 million. And these are the monies, again, they are withholding when our people are being auctioned. They cannot even take children to school just because some people are in the comfort zone. This is not acceptable. The Nyandarua people have been pushed to the corner, and as their mouthpiece, as their ears, as their eyes, as their mouth, this one we are going to shout from the rooftops and to the necessary authorities, because this oppression is just beyond definition and beyond remit. So the other issue, and I feel the leader of majority, as the chairman of the budget committee, of the education committee, we have a situation where even budget checks are bouncing. Budget checks are going to the banks and being returned without money. Bursary checks going to the bank with the principals of schools and returned without money, because money in the budget, in the bursary fund, have been misappropriated. That is the level we have gone in this county. I also appreciate, and actually I think the leader of majority also is a very patient person. And I don't know for how long this is an administration that can even lie about the leader of majority in this house, I've lost hope myself on anything good that can come from this administration. And I'm sorry to say this on the floor of the House, but I think my conscience cannot be cleared before I say this on the floor of the House. This is the same administration with an approved vote to take care of the health of the majority leader when lying unconscious, immobile in a hospital bed, promises an amount of money to cater for hospital bill, 700,000, 750,000. This is not money coming from anybody. It is from the government-owned social fund. And I believe that money has been withdrawn from that social fund, but also never reached the majority leader. And actually has never talked about it. But obviously, as the speaker, have a responsibility so that the people of Nyandarua, they can understand what kind of an administration they are dealing with. It rises to the sick. It allows those with the pending bills to continue suffering and dying and being auctioned. It has lost any sense of humanity for the people of this county. We are setting a signal. We expect that supplementary appropriation law will be here today or the earliest time. Otherwise, it reaches Tuesday, then we have to do what we have to do as an assembly to make this administration see sense, because common sense is becoming very remote to them. Next order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we've exhausted the business as indicated in the afternoon's order paper.
Okay, the afternoon order paper having been exhausted, which are adjourned, and maybe just an off the cuff, because I think it is important for the country and for the county. And the majority leader, you being the leader of the Jubilee Party in this house, and also the chairman of the Jubilee caucus in the county. I think this standoff on the Jubilee ticket for the seat of governor should be resolved very quickly, and obviously some of these problems will be removed from the face of this county. Okay, we adjourn and okay, Majority Leader, you seem to want to say something.
Mr. Speaker, you know, in the spirit of rule of natural justice, when you mention me and mention such a weighty matter, the people of Nyandarua might think that I'm the one who controls the issuing of certificates. Mr. Speaker, I'm a very small man and I represent the interest of Jubilee in Nyandarua and in this assembly. And I believe that the Jubilee office is equipped enough and has got competent officers and the leader, of course, and they're going to come up with a solution to that problem shortly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm saying Majority Leader that in a small way, please pass our cries and grievances to the highest office that if the problem in this county is removed, then the county might be able to move forward. So we adjourn to Wednesday, the 4th day of May 2022. As you all know, the 3rd of May will be a public holiday, and therefore we shall come here on 4th, that is Wednesday, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Possibly, if the executive will have seen sense and we will have started listening to the people of this county and brought the supplementary appropriation law, the House will be able to move as a whole House and consider the appropriation law and enact it appropriately, together with the main budget for the year 2022-2023. So